We've had our issues with Jasmine in the past, but defects calling right now, that's like a real red flag. Like, this is an issue. This was yesterday. Could have threw you under the bus. The problem with her is she was out here on the prowl trying to get him to take care of her. That's her.
It's but it's also you did too now. No, I'm just saying, so that's why.
It is, but when you're taking care of your child, you should not be back in court.
Well, that's the problem about being a side hoe.
Yeah.
That's what I.
Well, she's not even a side hoe, Kirk. Not with her. It was, a situation that was unfortunate, but it's just gonna haunt you for the rest of your life.
I've been dealing with this for years. Jasmine, she needs to start understanding that you can't expect certain things, baby, because that's not what that's about. What it's about is Kirk financially taking care of Cannon. A lot of things that she talks about and wants are things that she wants for herself. And that's when you're losing sight of what is really going on.
The premiere of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta Season 13 started off with a dramatic moment that fans had been eagerly waiting for, a heated confrontation between Rasheeda Frost and Jasmine. This moment was the peak of a long-standing tension between the two women, which had been building up over the years. Rasheeda, one of the central figures on the show, had kept her composure for as long as she could, despite the constant interference of Jasmine in her marriage to her husband, Kirk Frost. But finally, Rasheeda was done holding back and decided it was time to take control of the situation. Throughout the series, Rasheeda and Kirk's relationship had been a major storyline. Their bond had faced many challenges, but the ongoing presence of Jasmine, who seemed determined to come between them, only added to the drama. Jasmine had repeatedly tried to get back into Kirk's life, causing more tension in Rasheeda's marriage. Even after her past actions had already strained things, Jasmine didn't back down. Her persistence carried on into Season 13, where she made another attempt to rekindle her relationship with Kirk. This was despite the damage it had already done to Rasheeda and Kirk's union. Jasmine's refusal to step away wasn't just annoying, it felt like an attack on everything Rasheeda had worked for. It threatened her family, her life, and all the accomplishments she had built with Kirk over the years. For a long time, Rasheeda had chosen to stay above the drama. She focused on her businesses, her children, and her marriage, doing her best to stay graceful in the face of the constant challenges. She had endured countless obstacles, but she always tried to keep the peace. However, there's only so much a person can take. The constant disrespect from Jasmine wore Rasheeda down, and as time passed, it became clear that Jasmine wasn't going to stop. Rasheeda's patience had finally reached its limit. Rasheeda had always been strong, but she wasn't going to sit back anymore. The situation had gotten out of hand, and she knew she had to face it head-on. She wasn't willing to be passive while Jasmine continued to try to tear apart her family. This moment marked a turning point for Rasheeda. She decided it was time to confront Jasmine in a way no one expected. The time for silence was over. Rasheeda was ready to take control of her story and put an end to the chaos Jasmine had caused. When the two women finally came face to face, the tension was undeniable. This wasn't just about a disagreement, it was the result of years of frustration. Rasheeda, who had worked hard to maintain her composure, was done being the bigger person. She was tired of Jasmine's attempts to ruin her family, and she wasn't willing to tolerate it any longer. Rasheeda confronted Jasmine about her repeated efforts to come between her and Kirk, making it clear that enough was enough. As expected, Jasmine tried to defend herself, but Rasheeda wasn't interested in hearing any excuses. She wasn't looking for apologies at that point. The words Rasheeda spoke were sharp, filled with emotion, and made it clear that she wasn't going to let Jasmine continue manipulating the situation. It wasn't just about Kirk anymore. This was Rasheeda taking control of her life, showing Jasmine that she couldn't just walk over her and disrupt her peace. The confrontation quickly escalated. Both women exchanged fiery words, emotions running high. But as the argument grew more intense, it became clear that this wasn't just a clash between two women. It was about Rasheeda asserting her power, taking control of her life, and no longer allowing anyone to dictate her story. For years, Rasheeda had been the one to keep the peace, to rise above the drama, but this time, she wasn't going to let Jasmine, or anyone, control her anymore. As the confrontation continued, Rasheeda became more determined. She wasn't just standing up for her marriage, she was standing up for herself. She had spent years building her businesses, raising her children, and focusing on her own personal growth. She wasn't about to let anyone, especially not Jasmine, take that away from her. This wasn't just about protecting her marriage to Kirk. It was about Rasheeda asserting her identity and showing everyone that she would no longer allow anyone to walk over her. For the first time in a long while, Rasheeda unapologetically stood up for herself. She wasn't afraid to express her emotions and make it clear that she wouldn't tolerate Jasmine's interference anymore. The moment marked a shift for Rasheeda, a moment when she took control of her narrative, decided her own future, and refused to let anyone take away the life she had worked so hard to build. This confrontation wasn't just about drama. It was a powerful statement that Rasheeda wasn't going to back down anymore. This moment in Love and Hip Hop Atlanta was a defining one for Rasheeda. She had been patient for so long, but in that moment, she decided to no longer hold back. It wasn't just about her marriage anymore. It was about taking control of her life and making sure no one, whether it was Jasmine or anyone else, could take away the happiness and success she had fought so hard to achieve. The confrontation wasn't just a fight, it was a declaration of independence, a statement that Rasheeda was in charge of her own life, and no one would take that from her. Rasheeda's strength was undeniable during that moment, showing everyone that she wasn't just standing up to Jasmine, but also defending everything she had worked so hard for. The situation between them was heated, but Rasheeda didn't back down. She took control, sending a clear message to Jasmine that no matter what, Rasheeda's family wasn't going to fall apart. Even though the tension between the two women didn't immediately disappear, Rasheeda's actions marked a significant shift. She showed that no one, not even Jasmine, would get in the way of her peace and her family. By standing her ground, Rasheeda took back control and regained her dignity. It was in that moment that she proved just how strong and determined she truly was. As the episode came to a close, viewers were left wondering what would happen next for Rasheeda, Kirk, and Jasmine. But one thing was certain, Rasheeda wasn't going to let anyone take what mattered most to her. She made it clear that if anyone tried to challenge her, they would have to deal with the consequences. Her message was loud and clear. If you mess with Rasheeda Frost, be ready for a fight. But things took a turn with Kirk. Rather than admitting his wrongs, he tried to make himself seem like the victim. Instead of owning up to the affair with Jasmine, he claimed that he had been unhappy in his marriage for a long time, and that his affair was his way of escaping the struggles he had been facing at home with Rasheeda. Just days after that, Kirk separated from Rasheeda and reportedly reached out to his lawyers about getting a divorce. Looking at it from another angle, some might argue that Rasheeda unknowingly allowed Kirk's treatment of her to continue by staying in the relationship. She had the choice to leave, but she chose not to. Instead, she made a public declaration that she was committed to keeping her family together, showing Kirk that she wasn't going anywhere. Rasheeda's decision to stay wasn't only about standing by her commitment, but also about the changes she had seen in Kirk. She believed that one of the reasons their marriage lasted so long was because Kirk had worked hard to turn things around. I went through a really deep, dark period with it, and it wasn't easy. It took being hospitalized for Kirk to realize that he needed me back in his life, she said. However, Rasheeda's decision didn't sit well with Jasmine. Jasmine was upset, and she wasn't afraid to let others know what Kirk had done to her. Inside sources revealed that Kirk had discussed possibly marrying Jasmine once his divorce from Rasheeda was finalized, which left Jasmine heartbroken when he turned around and asked Rasheeda to come back. As the saying goes, you lose them the way you gain them. Let's not forget who we're talking about here. Kirk is no stranger to manipulation, and he knew exactly how to play both Rasheeda and Jasmine. While we might hope for the best for him, one thing is clear: the drama between Jasmine and Rasheeda isn't over. Fans have been talking a lot, especially since Kirk asked Rasheeda to be by his side after doctors warned him that he might not make it. Fans have been wondering why Jasmine continues to act innocent while still taking shots at Rasheeda. One fan pointed out, having a baby by a married man comes with consequences. They reminded everyone that Jasmine knew Kirk was married, and expecting him to fully take responsibility for his actions was part of the consequences. Many fans believe Rasheeda deserves better than Kirk. They feel she should be moving on, especially if Kirk were to pass away. One fan commented, "Girl, kick the dead weight to the curb. Who needs that kind of disrespectful man? Take charge of your happiness. It's not with Kirk. Love yourself and move on from him. You're too beautiful to be dragged down." Other comments focused on Kirk's behavior. "Kirk is with Rasheeda when he's sober and with Jasmine when he's drunk," one fan pointed out. These fans believe Rasheeda shouldn't carry the burden of Kirk's actions any longer. She deserves someone who truly respects her and treats her with care and love.